Hey Timmy here, I talk about my journey towards becoming a master's student in the performing arts. Today, we're going to talk about my trip to Singapore to audition for the Royal Central School of Speech and Drama, known in short as Central, or I like to call it CSSD, on the 2nd and 3rd of December 2018. I know I'm like 2 months plus behind on reporting, but better late than never, and a documentation is a documentation, no matter how late. So in October, November 2018, I found out that CSSD was going to make a stop in Singapore for auditions in December, so I signed up for it. In the beginning, I was actually quite hesitant about it because the audition fee was £40 per course. But what made me decide to go in the end is this. I emailed the admissions officer, Dominic Tullet, and asked him if there was any possibility that the school could waive or lower the audition fee because £40 is kind of expensive for Malaysians. And if I were to travel down to Singapore, I was not going to just audition for one course, I was going to audition for both screen acting and contemporary acting. And if they were going to charge me an audition fee for each course, which totals to £80, nah. But Dominic wrote back and told me that I could audition for both courses but pay only for one. So that kind of sealed the deal for me, and I decided, yes, I'll go. I used the cheapest and easiest way to get to Singapore from Malaysia, which is by bus. I used EasyBook to get my bus tickets because it had really good prices. I've heard stories from friends from other Malaysians about taking the bus to Singapore, like, don't use this bus company, don't take that bus company because they're horrible, but frankly, I don't take long distance buses enough for me to actually have a preference. But I do have a time preference. The audition was on a Monday and I wanted to get to Singapore on Sunday in the morning, so I had a full day to chill and relax and just get proper rest before the audition the next day. And Billion Stars had the right timing, so I took that. And I would absolutely recommend Billion Stars because, well, it wasn't like super awesome or luxurious or whatever, but the bus rides were fine. The buses were clean, the journeys were smooth, and I slept all the way through. The fact that I'm a good sleeper helped too. The buses were on time. Well, the one going to Singapore was on time. The one coming back was a little late. Surprise, surprise, Singapore! But the info counter person in Singapore was very helpful and told me exactly where to wait, so there was no way I was gonna miss it. When you get your bus tickets, the estimation given is usually about 5.5 hours, but you know it wouldn't be that because you can't predict how much time immigration at the borders will take. But anyways, so at about 12 midnight on Saturday, I went to the One Utama bus terminal and it was a quiet night. I am now at the bus station, Singapore and CSSD, here I come! The abang at the counter just told me there aren't a lot of people on this bus, and I think he's right because just look at that. Just one person. I think that means I will get a good night of sleep on the bus and wake up fresh in Singapore tomorrow. Let's go! Okay, the bus is here. Let's go. This is the bus. Let's go. Singapore, CSSD, here at the car. Because I actually haven't got enough sleep this whole week because of the Juliet and the Paul applications. So I think I'm gonna just hit the site like right now and see you in Singapore. Past the custom, I'm in Singapore. I'm gonna try to get some more sleep because I think I'll be one of the last ones to get down on the bus. I have got off the bus. I'm now at the Golden Mile complex. I'm most likely gonna get something to eat and then go see my friend and put my bags down. Let's go! 10 minutes in Singapore and I already saw a casting call. I ended up having breakfast at Ya-Kun opposite the Golden Mile complex because at 7:30 AM, that was the only place that was open. Like, what? This would never happen in Malaysia. And the reason I went to have breakfast was because I thought 7:30 AM on a Sunday was a little early to disturb anybody, and breakfast would be a good way to kill time. And it was. At about 8:30 AM, I took a Grab to my friend's house, and I did not expect that, but his house is huge and he has 3 adorable dogs.
Okay, now I'm going to meet my friend who has generously agreed to host me for the night. Thank you very much. Really need friends from around the world, don't we? Okay, so my friend Daryl, dear Daryl, has a really comfortable place, and I'm just very grateful that he's hosting me because this means I can get a good night of rest before tomorrow's audition. I've just showered and cleaned up, and while I thought my energy level would be fine, but I actually feel a little bit sleepy now. I think it's because of the tea or the toast I had just now. So I think I'm gonna just sleep a little bit more, and then I'm gonna wake up and complete the online application for CSSD before tomorrow's audition. Oh, this is something that they have just asked me to do. They asked me to register myself on their online application just so they have a record before tomorrow's audition.
My nap ended up being 3 hours straight. When I got up, it was lunchtime and my friend took me out for lunch and I got to meet his girlfriend. After that, I just spent the rest of the day working on the online application, which included, essays. Luckily, I already had templates from my Julia and DePaul applications and I could just work from there for a customized version for CSSD. And A for effort, because I actually wrote 2 different essays for the 2 courses I applied to. Talk about commitment. But it did take a lot of time because when it was dinner time, I was only done with 1. So after dinner, I worked on the other one until about 12:30 a.m. and then I went to bed. And yes, so I ended up not running through my monologues before the audition. And now, the big day! I got up early and had everything packed to bring with me, just in case the auditions were gonna last all day and I didn't have time to go back to my friend's place or to meet him at all before my bus ride back to KL. My friend kindly got up early to have breakfast with me and he brought me to Jalan Tua Kong Lao Lim Mee Pok, which is supposedly an old and famous shop for mee pok in Singapore. So after breakfast, I said goodbye to Daryl and thanked him and I took a Grab share ride to get to the audition venue. Because the driver had to drop off other passengers and because we were stuck in the Monday morning rush hour traffic, which was bloody mild compared to KL's, I actually arrived a little bit later than I planned to.
Okay, I am here about 20 minutes later than I anticipated because of traffic, but let's go!
But I was not late, luckily. When I entered the building, I was greeted by the admission staff. No, not Dominic, he was not there. A lady named Rahima who was very friendly, very nice. Then they gathered everybody for a group warm-up, which was very helpful for all of us fellow auditionees because, well, for me, even though I warmed up before I went, sitting in traffic kind of cooled everything down. After that, they split us off into the BA people and the MA people, and for the MA people, the morning session was for screen acting and there were only 3 candidates.
So we've just completed our warm-up, they've split us off, we're waiting for our turn, and this is how the space looks like. It's pretty empty because everyone's already in their respective space and I'm waiting for my turn. So here we go. So I just finished my audition for screen and as expected I was a little bit too big. So she asked me to do it again for a second time and I really toned it down a lot and I think she liked that version better. And then after my monologue, I stood there and then they asked me questions about why I want to do this and what are my previous experience and what I hope to achieve from this MA, which is the usual questions. And after that, I asked them a few questions. I told them that, don't you think 1 year is a little bit short for the MA? And she told me, yes, it is kind of short, but it will be intense. And she also told me that there will be a lot of opportunities for cross collaborations between master's students from other programs like the lighting, the producing people, the film editing, production people. Seems like a very good place to go to, and I'm definitely considering it, even though it's only for 1 year, and I am actually wishing for a longer master so that I have more time to really immerse myself in the environment. So this is the room where I had my screen acting audition. It's a very small and cozy room, and they had a camera with proper miking to really capture everything that I said in my monologue and in the interview.
After the morning session was done, we broke for lunch, but we were told to come back at 1 p.m. or 2 p.m. for a Q&A session with faculty, admissions, and alumni, where we got to ask everything under the sun about CSSD. I thought it was very smart of them to do it at that time because that was like a transitional period between the morning session and the afternoon session. So the morning session people could just stay back, and the afternoon session people just came early, and people from both sessions got to join in the Q&A.
Can you explain, for someone who's interested in that or producing, still debating, the different courses for...
In the afternoon, it was the MA Contemporary Acting, and I think there were also only 3 candidates. I don't know what was going on with the BA people. Maybe they were having callbacks, maybe they were done. The interesting thing about the MA Contemporary Acting audition was that it was run by an alumnus instead of someone in the faculty. His name is George Kemp. He graduated from the MA Classical Acting. He very kindly took us through another warm-up before starting the official audition, which was kind of nice because, you know, we just had lunch and we just sat through a Q&A session, so the body actually could use a little wake me up.
So I just completed my MA Contemporary Acting audition, and the judge is actually an alumnus. He majored in classical, and he was really nice. He really had ways to pull out more from me, and I personally think I did quite well in the audition, in that because of his methods, the stuff that he did with me, it really drew out if you want to call it emotion, if you want to call it more context, more clarity, more intention. He beat the best out of me just now. So I'm really grateful for that, and let's see what happens next now. It's all done. Oh, and the audition was in the same room with the same camera guy. So he basically just heard my contemporary monologue, Tom Wingfield, for 3 times today. I hope the 3 times I did it, it was still interesting for him to watch.
And there's something to add, because George graduated from the MA Classical Acting. Towards the end of my audition, I actually asked, and he actually gave me a pointer on how to tackle Shakespearean text. How nice of him! The audition ended earlier than I thought it would, so I just spent the extra time just chatting and taking pictures with the alumni and faculty. And because they had a Malaysian alumnus, Amelia Chen, helping out, so after that all the Malaysians just gathered around and we went to find food in true blue Malaysian fashion. After having a drink and then ice cream, our friend Nicholas Lai, who auditioned for the BA in Acting, and we split up with Amelia and another Malaysian candidate, Mai, because my old uni mates who now work in Singapore made plans to meet up with me for dinner before I went back to KL. Their treat. Aww. We went to have a fancy dinner at a restaurant in a mall and a few drinks after to kill time, and then I went to wait for my bus.
It was 2 good days here in Singapore auditioning for the CSSD, the Royal Central School of Speech and Drama. I've done all that I can. Now I can just wait and hope for the best. And other than that, I had a really good time trying out the local food and just meeting friends again, just chilling out. I want to thank the people who helped me along the way on this journey. First is Daryl and his 3 adorable dogs, Joki, Whiskey, and Charlie, for hosting me and giving me such a comfortable time here in Singapore. And I want to thank Haley, Liu, and Nimin for coming out to see me on my final night before I head back to KL. And with that, signing off on my Singapore trip for CSSD audition.
And now, money matters, because while going all out for auditions to pursue my master's is thrilling and such an adventure, adventures like this has its costs. There are 4 big items of expenses for this trip, and the first one would be the audition fee, which was £40, which is about 215 ringgit. And the second item, accommodation, because I got to stay with my friend Daryl, so it was free. And the third one is transportation. First off is the bus tickets. Going there is actually a lot more expensive than coming back here. I don't know why, but I spent a total of 94 ringgit and 97 cents on bus tickets. And then there were the Grab rides, which were charged on my credit card. From the Golden Mile complex to my friend's place was charged $11.50, and from the breakfast place, the meatball place, to the audition venue, which was at Claymore Hill Road, was charged $12.50. And the last item would be my other expenditures there. I exchanged $100 and I checked I have about $50 left in my wallet, which means I spent about $50 on just food for the 2 days and my MRT card. And that would total up to I can't do math like that. Okay, so the total is 534 ringgit and 95 cents, but let's just round it up to a 535 ringgit. But that is including the audition fee, which is like a necessary evil and technically not part of the budgeting for the trip. So if you take that out, that will make it about 320 ringgit, which is actually not too bad because I budgeted 300 bucks for this trip. So what happens next after the audition? Well, I got a call back for both courses and the faculty wants to have a Skype interview with me, but they have yet to schedule that in. In the coming videos, I guess we'll have to talk about the elephant in the room, which is my big audition trip to NYC.
Wow.
So if you want to see that, stay tuned and remember to follow and subscribe. Thank you, bye!
I just want to detail a funny story at the Singapore side of the immigration office because I was stopped for a random spot check by the immigration officer because of my name. Apparently my name is too short, so they detained me for a spot check. Didn't know that could be a problem.